Hi everybody, it's Rachel here. I wanted to share with you a little bit about what our homeschool year looks like. I've been homeschooling for, 9 years now, and every year just looks different. So in case you're wondering, I just thought maybe it might help you to just get some ideas of what we do, and hopefully you could glean from the information that I'm sharing to help you with your homeschooling. So let's get started. Now the first thing I want to show you is some main curriculum choices that I've made for the year, and they're ones that I've been very happy with. So let's look at this together. To start with, the math books that I use with my kids are called, oh goodness, let's see if you can see this. This is a MathUSee book. And if you're not very familiar with MathUSee, it's a very systematic layout for math. The student has, this is the teacher textbook, the student has a DVD to watch a lesson each week, and then for that week, that lesson has, or the lesson that they take on the DVD has lessons for them to work through in their workbook for the whole week. And then if your student really gets it down and they want to go faster, they can, but it really lays out for you as the parent text and explanations of what's going on for your students pretty clearly in the book. We just love this because it's all there. You can go to their website for support and help, and they have hands-on manipulatives you can use if you want to, and all of my kids are doing really well with it. So this is their multiplication book. Also, for my younger kids, we have used Apologia this year. Now, I didn't have a lot of familiarity with Apologia in the past, and here's a little tip that has helped me tremendously. We bought the book, we bought some junior books that are spiral bound with activities for the kids, but in all reality, we are doing so much for school this year that I find that I'm like practically losing my voice when I'm doing so much reading with, I'm going to show you them at the Sonlight curriculum. So what I ended up doing was purchasing the audiobook for this Exploring Creation. The kids have their student books with them, and we listen to the audio together, and I use this teacher book to follow along because it gives you chances to kind of pause when you see a page that says try this, and then you can kind of pause the audiobook or just keep going. So I like to have this book so that when they're describing pictures in the teacher book, we can point at them, look at them, talk about it, or whatever. Mostly I'm not losing my voice when we use the audio. So just thought I'd mention the audio has been awesome. Now, exploring physical science, this is also Apologia. My boys, we got this through Sonlight. It has a companion CD, and the Sonlight curriculum had like a test booklet that came with it, and the teacher's guide. So my boys follow the teacher's guide. It tells them which pages to read, which experiments to do. It came with an experiment kit with a lot of supplies you wouldn't normally have around the house. It's been going really well. So we've enjoyed this for my upper grades. We're also doing, now this is like my biggie. This is the Sonlight notebook that I use, and it's just my teacher plans. Now this is for two separate groups. So I have in the first half, this is like one section for my younger crew, and then this bottom half of the notebook is the core, is what they call it, for my older group. Now looking back, I would say I would probably not try to do two different age groups at the same time, because what's happened is I have not been able to be as engaged with my older kids, and I've had to leave them to do a lot of the reading independently. So I'm going to seek some advice from Sonlight about how to move forward with that. We did the World History Year. I share, this is just a page showing some like a book list of different books that we read. But Sonlight is basically literature-based learning, and the teacher guide has, you saw that map when I first opened this, you can get stickers for their timelines, You can buy like the kit with all the different books you're going to read, or you can just kind of like piece together the books you have or get used books. I love it. It's great. We have learned so much through stories, and that moves me into, I wanted to show you a few stories that we've read this year that we have absolutely loved. So Strawberry Girl, we actually listened to a lot of this book on audio because there's a certain dialect in the book that I really felt like they did really well on the audio, and so we just love this. In fact, my second grader listens to this over and over, and it was available through the library app, so we didn't even have to buy that. Another book that we use with Sonlight is A Child's History of the World, and this goes over quite a bit of the history that they study. This book was a read aloud that I read, The Apprentice. It was more at the beginning. It was kind of at the beginning of the year because we're in the modern age, but it sort of hits on the end of the medieval times and the early modern. So this was a great book. We really enjoyed that. So I read this. They did their handwriting. They did some like artwork, quiet time, individual work that they could do while they listened to the story. And then what I like is in the lesson plans, there's just something for everyone. Another book we've been reading is A Child's Garden of Verses, and it's just these like really short, cute little poems, and I read a couple each day, and this engages my even younger children. So I just like that the different books that we're reading together, they just reach everybody. It's the youngest child, and even my older children like hearing the poems, and we like to talk about the poems. Something else I wanted to show you was over here. This box is like my early reader box. And I pulled a couple of books out to show you for teaching your child to read. Right here, Mr. Fox. This reader came from a set that I bought, and the name of the set is Sing, Spell, Read, and Write. Now, I didn't actually use the whole curriculum for this. I order the individual workbooks through CBD, and then I also bought the sets for learning to read. This is the very early readers. So this is, if you see down here, kindergarten, book 6. And what happens is when they read in their workbook and they do like their letter sounds and letter recognition and that sort of thing, the workbook will prompt them in the workbook at 14C to read this book. That means that they've been prepared and they are ready to attempt to read this book. There's a set of 6 of these books, and my son just did great with these, and so did my daughter. And then there was a time when he was just really interested in reading books from the Bible. So I found these to supplement. They're called Early Readers, Bible Stories for Early Readers. And there's a whole series of them on CBD, where what they did was they took the story, and this is book 5, so there are a couple that are even simpler than this, but it's so cute because the way that they say it is like, Daniel must go in the den with the big cats. Isn't that adorable? So my son gets to read the Bible stories, and they are super simplified, and he just loves learning the stories, and he loves that he can actually read the Bible stories. So this was another great supplement that I used. In the box, you'll see a lot of different books here. These ones with the skinnier spines are called Phonetic Storybook Readers, and there's a whole series of them where, let's see, it focuses on certain sound combinations. And as you see with the workbook down here, it'll tell where to read it. But we didn't do all of those workbooks. We just did the very beginner workbooks. And once they get through these, then they move into the Grand Tour. I love the Grand Tour. That's so nice because the Grand Tour is level 2. And what they do is these readers take them all around the United States, and they learn facts about the different states. So you could take a map and you could mark the different states that you're learning about through these stories. So you get through half of the states in level 2, And once you finish level 2, you go into the last level, level 3. There are these thicker books right here. And it's typically like one side, and when they finish reading it, you flip it over and there's the other side. And you finish off your states with these. So each level obviously gets a little bit harder, and by level 3, when they finish these books, not only have they learned about each state in the United States, but they are at a point where they can start reading some pretty simple chapter books. And I'm not talking about like the Biscuit book series or Dick and Jane. I'm meaning a little bit more advanced than that. But yeah, by the time my kids finished these books, they were pretty confident readers. So those are a few tools that I'm using this year. They've gone really well for us. The very last thing I want to show you are these homeschool portfolios. Now I've tried different 3-ring binders, using a notebook for the child, using planners. Like, how can I get my kid to be organized? How can I keep all their papers and their documentation together throughout the year and know what each kid did, which things were checked, which things weren't, what their progress is like. So I found this portfolio on a website called notconsumed.com. And the lady who has this website, her name's Kim. She is great. She has great kids' Bible studies. She has parenting articles. She's just great. Anyway, so I bought this printable, and my child will have their name in here by the end of the year, but this is his grade, what year it is, and basically, we haven't filled all this out yet, but we will by the end of the year. I printed it and had it bound. Obviously, you can do it however you want, but for me, the 3-ring binders end up getting dropped on the ground. The papers fall everywhere. We lose papers. Kids break, like, pull the holes out, and then you got like all these hole reinforcers. It's been a pain when you got 5 different kids with all these notebooks. So I like the compactness of a spiral bound notebook that doesn't take up half of their school bin full of books, and it's portable if we're going to go somewhere, if we need to work in the car. It's just easier for me. So the child gets to fill out, we've got goals, the educational snapshot. This is stuff that I actually didn't fill out for this child, but we know what we're doing. A reading record, and then we've got field trip evaluation forms. This is kind of what a blank one looks like. I printed off a number of those. Here's some more. Then this was sort of what I started with on my own that I included in this book, because this is what we used earlier in the year. Let's see if we can skip forward. And then this is, let's find a page he hasn't filled out yet. These are, I kind of have a mixed mash of all the different things we've been trying this year, but this is ultimately what's ended up working the best, are her sheets. So right here is a page that's not filled out yet. At the top I typed in like our basic, this is what happens on which day of the week, and of course they can fill out more, and then they check off or jot in which lesson they did, and I initial it if they did it. I like that there is a habits section, because some of my kids are very inclined to use that to remember what they're doing. And then this is like a self-evaluation thing for the end of the week. So I highly recommend keeping a portfolio together so that when you sit down to do any type of reporting that your state might require, you can really see what's been going on. You can evaluate if you're checking their work and see, where a kid started and where they're at now and what we need to do for the rest of the year. So that's it for today.